et messieurs, ladies and gentlemen, set to make her ring walk, faisant son entrée vers le ring. Elle est invaincue, elle a un jab d'enfer et une vraie passion pour la boxe féminine. She is undefeated, she has a tremendous jab and a true passion for women's boxing. Veuillez accueillir la terreur rimouskoise. Let's welcome the terror of Rimouski, Marie-Ève Albert!
Finally, Jelena, finally I have you. You're invited.
I've been stalking all of your social media and your podcast and everything, and finally I'm on.
Yeah. It's not that I didn't want to have you, but the timing was not always there. You have had some crazy years, actually. It was like from the beginning of the pandemic, and everything you went through, the 2 losses against Erica Cruz, and you're still a queen, you're still a star in Canadian boxing. And I was so happy when I saw that you were coming back for another fight. It's been a long time. The last time you fought, it was in last September, I think.
Yeah, it was. It feels like forever. Let me tell you, it feels like a long time for you. It feels like forever for me as well. So, a lot of ups and downs since COVID and since pandemic, and it's been a struggle, and it's trying to find yourself again, and we're getting there. So I'm excited.
So many changes in your life. Yeah, so many changes in your life as well. You're back. I'm super happy of this. Some people would say, I'm sure you hear it sometime, she's starting to be old to box. I don't like it because I have your age. I'm the same age as you. Okay, I don't like to. What do you mind when people say that? And how do you feel? Do you feel you're your age? Do you feel the time going?
I think it goes in waves, right? Like I don't feel old in the gym. I don't feel old when I'm training. I look at myself in the gym with a bunch of kids essentially compared to me, and I'm still outworking them, and I'm still trying to push them to get to work harder and be better and all those things. So I guess they always say, and Nonito Donaire is a good friend of mine, family, and he always says age is just a number. And so he's like, if you think you're that number in your head, you are going to be that number. And honestly, I had to stop. Someone asked me today how old I was. I had to stop and think for a second. I was like, oh yeah, okay, here's my age. And I think usually the response I get from people who don't know me and haven't researched me is they're like, oh, you're how old? They're like, no, you're like 30 something, like early 30s, 20. I'm like,
I totally agree. I'm your age, and I feel I'm just starting some project.
I told people here, so I'm training with SugarHill Steward, and we're in Bournemouth currently at the moment. He has Lawrence Okoli is defending his world title. And I said to someone, because they were shocked at my age, and I looked and I was like, it's the Canadian air. This is Canadian air preserves us. Listen, it keeps us frozen in the winter, and then
I do agree. Yes, we are frozen, in the past.
So it's definitely the Canadian fresh air.
The Canadian fresh air. I totally agree. I cannot agree more.
There we go.
Yeah, I'm at the same place right now. This break you had, okay, between September and you're fighting June 8th. You're fighting
Yeah.
Calista Silgado, I think, if it's still good. It
Yes.
is, yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Calista Silgado is a journey woman, but she's a tough one. And she's a tough journey woman. She had so many good fights against Melissa Saint-Ville, Maureen Shea, Heather Hardy. She won many rounds. It's a good girl to come back after a long, pause, because it's not a pause. You're training all the time. You're in the gym all the time, mainly.
Yeah, like we were hoping to fight earlier, and then just timing wouldn't work out, and all the things, and this was, I was hoping to fight in May, so I've been training for quite some time. Here we are, June 8th. Kalisto Salgado, like you said, she's been in with the best. She's won rounds. She's had some great fights. She's got power. She's had a bunch of stops. She's had some losses, but heck, so have I. So, we're going in there. Every fight is a fight, and styles make fights, and I'm ready to go, and I'm looking forward to the opportunity to fight on a big show with Golden Boy. They are amazing, and they're supporting me, and we're getting a good fight to get back in the ring, to get back into the world stage.
This pause was not on purpose. So what I understand, because when you have a couple of losses that are difficult, twice in a row against the same girl, the girl who got Serrano for undisputed after, some people, they need to take a step back and just say, okay, what do I need to do now? But maybe it was a little bit of this as well. I'm asking because it was long, but maybe a part of this was on purpose, maybe not at all.
For me, I did lose to Erica Cruz Hernandez. It was a tough fight, but I have been going. This pause was probably a blessing in disguise for me. A lot of people probably don't know, but I lost my longtime trainer. He was like my second dad. He was my mentor. He took me from beginning to 8 world titles. I'd been with him, Milan Lubovac, for
forever. You have been with him. I was rewatching your documentary, the one that was launched 5-6 years ago, called Jelena.
Yeah.
People, they can find it if they want to know. Was a big thing, everyone was there when at the premiere. Wayne Gretzky, everyone.
Everybody,
I was rewatching this, and Milan was in this documentary talking about you, and he had no women before you. You were the first one, in this gym.
Yeah. And so I had lost him at the beginning of COVID. And it was extremely challenging in my life. I went through a big bout of depression. It was like losing a family member. And at times I spoke to him. Well, I did speak to him more than I speak to my dad. You spend so much time with the trainer. And so to have a good fit and that good gel is super, super important. And I think for me, not that I rushed. Nobody was rushing anything during COVID, but I didn't transition well after him. I was training with Jonathan Banks, who trains a lot of great world champions. Yeah. But for him and I, it just didn't work. The communication wasn't, I don't want to say the same, because nobody's going to be the same as Milan, but it just didn't gel. And I had the first fight with Erica with Jonathan, and it wasn't good. And
it didn't went well.
Not only that, I don't think I grieved properly. Milan was still in a vegetative status, so I hadn't really quite let go, and I was still in that depressive state. And then the second fight with Erica, I had just changed trainers with SugarHill Steward. We definitely have a better connection, better communication. I think through the time of getting to know someone, which obviously that takes time. I had Milan for 18 years. I looked at him and I knew what he was going to yell at me, and if you watch the documentary, you see he yelled at me a lot.
You see that he is quite serious sometimes. He knew when it was time to tell you that was not good, and when it was good, he was happy, but he was not expressive like that. He was like a little smile like this, right?
Yeah. And so with Sugar, I think the last fight, it was it wasn't enough time to really get to know each other. I felt that I was so broken down and depressed and all types of bad ways. And again, I think people don't talk about it enough. And I certainly was a victim of that. Is I didn't speak about my depression and what I was going through, and just trying to push forward and take those steps, but I didn't take the proper steps that I needed to do to be able to get myself right and then be
Yeah.
able to do something on a world stage. And I haven't spoke about it a lot actually, but I think I was still in a depressed state fighting, because that's what we do as women. We take opportunities when they come and we welcome them, even though I
It's never
probably
easy. It's
it's
never
never
easy.
it absolutely is. It's never easy, but it's more pressure on you as a
Yeah.
female fighter in this game, to just kind of say, okay, if this is my only option, this is what I have to do. And, I think for me, my only way to deal with stuff is to box and is to train. I just unfortunately didn't have the right people with me when I was doing it. I think putting that behind me, so 2 bad losses, and then now having more time with Sugar and learning each other, and again having those battles and learning how we need to communicate together, I think was a blessing in disguise, because as much as I didn't want to be out of the ring for 8 months plus whatever it's going to be add up to, I think we needed to learn each other, and I needed to get my almost like my sea legs back. I feel like I was out of the ring. I was broken down from being
You,
depressed,
you
from not
needed to ensure you wanted to continue boxing as well.
and that
Because
was the other
sometimes when
thing.
you're depressed, you're not sure about what you like, what you don't like, what you want.
And I think for me, I think that's where I realized I love the training. I
Yeah.
absolutely love the training. The fights are just like icing at the top, and so for me, I fell back in love with the training. I wanted to be in the gym, where not that I was not wanting to go. The gym is my safe space, personally. So, but I was excited to get in there with some of the guys that I'm training with, and to see what we were going to learn next. And I felt like before I found Sugar, I felt like I was just getting broken down every day in the gym versus lifted up. And I think there
Mhm.
needs to be a combination of the two. I think you need to correct things that need to be corrected, but you also need to be lifted up on the journey. And I don't think I was getting that with
Why did
Jonathan.
you choose Sugar? Why him and not why someone else?
Honestly, it's a funny story. It was almost by accident. So I had made the big move to train in Vegas, because
Mhm.
obviously it's close to Edmonton. It's easy flight. I was down there with, again, I talk about Nonito Donaire and Rachel Donaire's wife, and there was Jesse Vargas. There was a bunch of us in the gym, and I felt comfortable there. Milan lived in Edmonton. We never had to go anywhere to train.
Mhm.
It was great. Unfortunately, things change, and so I was training in Vegas, and Jonathan Banks was in Dubai or something with Badu Jack training him, and we had the last Erica fight lined up. And I kept calling him. He wasn't answering my calls or my texts, and so I was doing my job and trying to get in shape, and I was jumping on Nonito's camp, and we were all working out together, and and it was okay. Again, you can only correct so many things when you don't have a proper coach, right?
Yes.
Rachel was training Nonito, everybody was focused, and I was just there getting in shape. And so we had actually went to Jesse Vargas was fighting on Serrano Taylor undercard, and our whole team went over there, and SugarHill, we all hung out with him in Vegas. And so he called us to see. He's like, "Hey, I'm coming to Vegas." He goes, "Where can I meet up with you guys?" And we were all like, "Actually, we're in New York." So he was coming back from Tyson Fury's fight. He came to New York. Nonito and I were training, as we both had fights coming up. And he just came down to the gym. So he started helping me out. him and Jonathan, both Crunk fighters, you know, Detroit, very close to Emmanuel. And so Sugar started helping me when we were in New York. We all went back to Vegas, and he kept helping me out in Vegas. And he said, hey, listen, like, I'm just going to help you out until Jonathan gets back. Well, I said, well, maybe you could give him a call and let him know that I'm training, because I can't seem to get a hold of him. He's in Dubai, time change, this, that, and the other. And so I ended up chatting with him, and I enjoyed the training with Sugar. I felt like he was more like Milan, that it wasn't such a big change, and I felt like our personalities gelled, and
Mhm.
and my foundation of what I've learned and got me to 8 world titles was similar. Obviously, every trainer has a different tweak on it, and you can learn from everyone, but I felt like it was more like what I was accustomed to, which was going to help me get back to where I was supposed to be. So it was almost by mistake. So Sugar started training me to help out Jonathan, and then I kind of was like, hey, if you have time, can I join your guys' team? You know, and it feels more like home. It feels like I have that little bit of Milan with me, but with a different flair.
This is totally different lifestyle as well, because you were customized to stay in Edmonton, work in Edmonton with Milan, and now you're traveling the world with Sugar. I've seen you with Tyson Fury. With, you're with Lawrence Okoli. You have I am Mary Conan. You have sparring everywhere around the world right now.
It's been a different experience for sure. You know, I love being at home. I love being in one place training. So it's a different experience learning how to adapt and change and evolve through trials and tribulations, right? Like I can promise you that I haven't been always the most accommodating. I've lost my shit like once or twice, but um you know, you learn different things from different people. Like being in camp with Tyson, I learned so much just from watching him and learning
Yes.
different things and seeing it a different way. And he's so amazing. And the training, watching him train his butt off.
He is
And
one of a kind. There's no one like him.
he's incredible. And now I'm fortunate enough to call him like a good friend. So I'm very lucky. I'm blessed to have all of these amazing experiences, you know, now in Bournemouth and with Lawrence O'Cauley and cheering him on. I've got some great work in London, and it's different. Is it easy all the time? Absolutely not. I would
No.
love to stay in one camp, but do we have to do what we need to do to get it done? Absolutely. So I'm in incredible shape because I have my sneakers with me and my boxing gear, and I'll go wherever.
You'll go wherever in order to succeed.
Yeah.
So next is Calista Silgado, June 8th, on
Yes.
a Golden Boy show in the US. That's what I
Yes.
saw. You target Amanda Serrano, obviously.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
You're
And
still very well rated in a couple of associations. Um, do you think you may have a shot, because she's gonna fight Heather Hardy?
yeah. Yeah.
And
I
we have
do
these rumors that she would maybe fight Sarah Taylor again. So, what are your expectations?
You know, obviously, I was disappointed I lost my opportunity to get in with Serrano after losing to Cruz. But that's behind me. You know,
Mhm.
circumstances are what they are. Everything happens for a reason in life, and maybe we just weren't ready for that fight at this moment. You know, the timing, the stars didn't align. But of course, I'd love to fight Serrano. You know, I didn't lose my belt, the WBC featherweight belt, to Serrano. They took it from me.
Mm.
Whatever circumstances were, I didn't lose that belt. So, you know, Amanda has done some great things. She stepped up and had some incredible fights. But I would obviously like a shot to have my belt back. So I mean, obviously, that fight is on my radar, and I'm hoping that we get through it all, and our people can talk to each other and we can make it happen. But I have to get on the win column first. So we're focused on Kalisto Salgado and getting back in the W and putting on a dominating performance.
Yes.
you know, 2 back-to-back losses, when you think about it, it kind of puts people down and out. And you know, I know that I wasn't myself in those fights, even mentally. Like I honestly, I
You
couldn't
don't
tell
need to
you.
tell me. You don't need to tell me
couldn't
because I knew. I was
but
watching
I
it and I
couldn't
was like,
even
"What? She's not boxing as usual."
but I couldn't even tell you because I don't know where my head was. I
Yeah.
was in the clouds. Like, you know, I wish someone would have, just like Milan used to back in the day, just came up and slapped me and woke me up. But
What are you doing?
like
You
he
don't listen to me. Look at
listen,
me. Look at me in the eyes.
that man, I love him forever and always. And but he has slapped me more times in the corner than sometimes I've been hit in fights. So I guess I looked at Sugar after the fight. I said, you know, sometimes I just need a good. And he was like, I'm sorry, what?
I'm
And
not gonna do this.
I played him the documentary and I said, this man slapped me. I said, but he did what he needed to do in the ring. Like, so no, that all kidding aside, like I would love to get the opportunity to fight Amanda for
Yes.
that undisputed, to get my belt back and then a couple more. Like, why not? However, I have to earn that spot first, and that means I have to get back in the W column. And I know I'm still rated number one by the WBA.
Yes.
Um, I know that I have no idea where the WBC has ranked me now, but I know that with the dominant win, it will pop me back up there. And let's be honest, I'm an exciting fighter when I show up.
You
So
are. You are an exciting fighter.
and I am one of those girls at that division that I know I have a few more losses than I would like on my record, but I am still one of the top in the division. And you know, if 126 isn't for me, if Amanda isn't interested anymore, then I've been just working so hard. I'm getting so skinny. Maybe I can go down a weight class. So we'll see. You
Or you
know,
can have good fights anyways, because the division is strong. If you can have very good and exciting fights, but of course it's not the same as having a shot at the belt, for a
well,
belt.
I
You know,
mean, I'm at
you've
an even
had
eight.
so many belts, you've been
I have
champion so
8.
many
We might as
times.
well make it an even 10 plus, right? Like,
Yes, right, something like this.
uh,
People, they don't know you that much sometimes. Here in the East, they know who you are. But like women's boxing was less followed. How was it in Canada when you started boxing, Jelena? Because
um,
there was no women. Marie-Ève Dicker just retired. She was a
yeah,
pioneer here in Quebec, so we gave her a lot of attention. But you were there. You were also a pioneer for Canada in general, and things have changed. See, if we compare with when you started.
100%. When I started, I had to sell, and I fought for free. I had to sell tickets to pay for my opponents. I had to really hustle and grind. And I think that's
Yes.
something that the kids nowadays don't really understand, that they see social media and they expect it to be given to them all of a sudden. But when I started, I had to make sure that I sold enough tickets to cover, when I did get paid very little, enough to pay for my purse, my opponent's purse, and then all of the costs of my fights.
You were sponsoring your own fights,
And
actually.
that included when I fought for world titles. I mean, I won my first world title in 2005. Um, I turned pro in 2003. And so, you know, I've been a world champion for off and on for 15 years, just about.
Yes.
So, you know, it was a grind always. I remember I went, the first time I felt like a proper world champion and accepted was when I went to a convention. It was like, you know, they respect what you do. There's fans in Mexico who follow the sport and
Yeah.
who and you've been in the media. The problem is, in Canada, unless you're, and you know this because you're with us, unless you're a hockey player,
It's
or maybe
complicated.
sometimes a football player, you're not really like supported a lot by our people. I mean, Quebec has a whole different thing going on out there, and it's amazing to see. And and kind of makes me wish I fought a little bit more out there. But
in the East, all the main promoters in Canada are in the East. So it's easier for the boxers here to have more visibility. Ontario, Quebec, they are emerging. We have a lot of emerging promoters, but there is a new boxing generation, women boxing generation in Alberta. Brie Alling, McKenna Tansley, Vanessa Bradford, and Alexa Skubicki, the young one that we are
and I know all of them, and I've been in the gym with all of them. You know, Vanessa and I have sparred many years ago, and she was still amateur and a youth, I believe. So, it is great to see that. KO boxing, when Milan passed, it was very difficult for Mel to keep doing the shows. There is a couple new promoters, but unfortunately, they only are limited to a smaller venue. So it'll be interested to see, because the city of Edmonton, unfortunately, has their head up their butts and they don't sanction combative sports. So
it seems very complicated.
It's terrible. And so you see a lot of these girls having to go on the road. Vanessa's been on the road. Her first fight at home was just last month. Or
McKenna as well. McKenna Tansley is always on the road almost.
But at the same time, the smaller shows mean you aren't really going to get paid, and you get bigger opportunities on the road. I'm a victim of that. I've been on the road.
Of course.
I've been on the road a ton in my career. Even when I was fighting at home, I was getting bigger paydays when I went on the road. And
you were risking your belts away most of the time.
Yeah. And so, KO boxing, I think, put the Edmonton on the map and Western Canada on the map for boxing. Never mind women's boxing, but for boxing. And then I helped create that space for women's fighting in Canada, and never mind Canadian. I was the only unified boxing champion in Canada for many years, and I don't even know if we have a male unified.
We have Beterbiev, but he is not Canada born,
Yeah,
but
is he unified now?
Yes, 3.
Oh, that is right.
He has a big one,
and he has a big one coming up.
Yes, you have to come. You have to come in Quebec.
I have not been invited, but thank you for the invite.
You should come.
I would love to. I mean, he's exciting too. So,
but there was no one. I mean, you were the only one, male, female at that time, unified champion. That you opened door for so many girls. Do you understand the impact you had in women's boxing? Because I know people, they feel shy to talk about it, but you certainly had a big impact, and you still have a big impact because you're not retired. You still do things,
I think for me, I'm still so very in it. It's hard to reflect. You get a chance to reflect when you go to these conventions, which are incredible that we get invited to them and they put on such an amazing event. But it's hard to sit back and reflect when you're still so very in it. And I'm still very hungry to achieve more. And I think it's like everything with life. We forget to take a step back, smell the roses, and enjoy the moments. And that's something that I've learned through losing Milan, that you need to enjoy the things as they come. And so that's something I've tried to be a lot more present of recently in the last couple of years. And so with traveling and taking these trips, I'm definitely enjoying the moments more and living each day as it comes. And some days you get lost and you forget. But when it comes to being that person for women's boxing, I think maybe when I retire, I can really look back and see how much I've done. It's hard when your own country doesn't, like my own city doesn't really acknowledge and accept what I've done and understand the magnitude of how it is on a world stage. And
you're obviously way more famous outside Canada than inside Canada, because here in Canada, I mean, women's sports in general is not the thing.
No, and it's something that we constantly battle as women for everything, but especially with boxing in Canada. And you know, I guess the only hope is to get better. I mean, I will be one day, whenever I decide to retire, I will be inducted in the Boxing Hall of Fame. I've already had that.
I do believe so. If they don't, they are crazy.
I hope to be inducted into a Canadian athlete Hall of Fame of some sort, but you have to know the right people and talk to the right people. So one day,
Unfortunately,
maybe I'll rub the right shoulders.
That's the way it is. But no, but I do know that you're one of the greatest. In Canada, you're so important. You're as important as Marie-Ève Dicker for us in Quebec. Like, as I said, you opened doors. You were the first one. At that time, boxing for women, that was not the thing. I mean, it was complicated even to be accepted in a gym. Most coach, they didn't want a woman to train there. It was you needed to convince the coach first to give you a chance. You started young and by accident. I mean, you were injured when you were injured when you entered in a boxing gym for rehab, and you fell in love with the sport.
Yeah, I was 18, 19, almost 19 when I started. So yeah, it's been many, many years.
At what moment did you understand that you had talent for this? Because, liking boxing is a thing. I love it, but I'm not good. You are good, but like at what moment you started to be conscious of the talent you had and the potential, and that you could maybe become a world champion? I do think Milan knew it before you.
100%. I think it's a yin and yang. Like, Milan believed in me more than I believed in myself. And I think that's what I miss from him the most. I miss a lot of things, but he definitely did. He started training me. It's a funny story because him and my dad were family friends, and he started training me kind of as a favor to my dad, and almost by accident. I walked in, him and my dad were having lunch, and I always met my dad for lunch, and so I saw him. He's like, "How's boxing going?" And I said, "It's okay." Like, I left the gym I was at. I didn't feel comfortable because you're right. It was, you had to convince people to have you in the gym, and
yes,
when there was a little awkward situation, I decided to remove myself from my amateur gym, and I was just training myself because I fell in love with the sport. And then Milan said, "Nope." Like, just like that. If you watch the documentary, if you've had the pleasure of knowing him, he was very like blunt. And he said, "I'll meet you at Panthers at a gym downtown at 3:00. He said, "Don't be late." And I was like, "Okay." And so and then I kind of was dismissed. I didn't even have lunch. Like, I was dismissed from the whole conversation. And I met him at the gym, and I just love the workout. So for me, it isn't just about physical, it's about the mental and the emotional and all the journey of everything you go through. That's what I fell in love with. I love that however hard I worked was directly impacting my results. I come from team sports, and this was something totally new for me. So I was like, wow, the harder I work, the better I'm going to get, the more I can do. And that
You're not the first one. You're not the first one telling me that the process sometimes is even more enjoyable than the result. We want a result, but the process is a lot of athletes, they love the process as much as the result.
For me, I fell in love with the process. Like, I believe that I've got to where I've gotten because Milan believed in me, and he gave me, he was my therapist before fights. Like, it was just conversations that we had, and he made me believe for each fight. And we had to do it every fight. We had to do it every single fight. He had to convince me how good I was for each fight, because throughout the process and reading all of everything everyone's writing, you tear yourself down. It's for someone who is the hardest worker in the gym and constantly is looking to improve, keyboard cowboys cut you down with a second, and so for me, I know when I first started my career, I was my own worst enemy, and I would read all the garbage everybody would say. Anyone who got behind a keyboard was tougher than anyone who was willing to step in the ring. And Milan taught me that words don't matter. It's what you put out there in front of everything. And so constantly I would have to say he 100% believed in me before I believed in myself. And I think I still, now losing him, I still go up and down. Like, I know that I'm good. I know because I've won.
You'll be fine, but it's a
I've
long
won 8
process.
world titles, and I know, but you always look back and I think as someone who tries to be a perfectionist and tries to out hustle and outmaneuver, you always have that, well, am I good now? Like, my last 2 fights were kind of shitty, so like maybe I have gotten old, maybe I haven't. I don't feel old. Age is just a number. However, I think, June 8th, we'll see if it's that old spark is relit, and
That's an important test. That's an important test. Even if we say age is a number, that's an important test for you to know, to know where you are at the moment.
Yeah, and it has to be dominating. So
yes, in order to have a title shot. Tell me, in the game of boxing, is there someone or someone's a couple ones that you admire, that you really like, that you enjoy watching boxing? As an example, other athletes, women, men, it doesn't matter. Anyone you like?
I think this is me as an athlete. I like different things from different people, and they don't have to be a world champion. They don't have to be, like, could be a kid in the gym that I enjoy watching. So, and that's how I learn. I learn from watching and doing, watching and repeating. And so I fell in love long ago when I first started. Milan gave me a VHS tape with 3 fighters on it, and he probably wanted me to fall in love with Sugar Ray Leonard. I fell in love with Roberta Duran. And so I've had the privilege of meeting him many times, and I would like to call him a good friend now. And so I like that kind of style. You pick up different things from each fighter. I've loved Gennady Golovkin for a long time. I loved Canelo before he was the man Canelo, and so obviously I still really like him. And there's different fighters that I like different things. Like, currently right now, Sugar trains a young man named Ben Whitaker, and I love watching him in the gym, and I like seeing that finesse and that pizzazz. He trains Vladimir Shishkin, who is unbelievable to watch. So there's a lot of guys that a lot of people wouldn't know their names, but I enjoy watching them, and now I've become a fan and friends, and so I believe you can, as someone who is a boxing fan, you can watch any fight and fall in love with what people do. I love watching the process. I've been championing and campaigning for a lot of these women who have really put themselves out there. They've made women's boxing mainstream. Look at Clarissa Shields. Like, I'll be honest, I wasn't a big fan when she started because I didn't like the arrogance, and when she started, I didn't appreciate how she kind of didn't give props to the people who got her there. But everybody has their own journey. Now what she's doing, pioneering herself, she came over to the UK. She won a fantastic class fight against Savannah Marshall. She's dropped and jumped weight classes, become undisputed. So,
she convinced many of us. She convinced many of us. When you don't know her that much, you don't know how to evaluate the personality, how she is. But yeah, you're right. She convinced us with her boxing skills.
And she's great. Like, she's a extremely hard worker, and
She's
everybody has their
serious.
own.
She likes the process a lot as well, I'm pretty
I
sure.
I think so. I mean, I can't speak on her behalf, but you
She's
see
serious.
you see the hunger and the drive, and
Yes.
so I enjoy watching her process and seeing what she's going to do next and how she's going to evolve every time. Um, I've enjoyed watching. There's a lot of these women
Did
that
you watch Cameron Taylor?
I did. I really did, and it is. It was a great fight. It's hard to
It was
move up in weight.
entertaining.
It's hard to move up in weight. I did it way back in the day. I jumped up to 135, and people think, oh, it's just 5 pounds. It's not a big deal. Well, it actually really is. And that was proved, with Cameron Taylor. I mean, I think both of those girls are fabulous. I think Chantel Cameron stuck to the game plan, and she executed a very good game plan. And unfortunately, Katie couldn't change early enough, but it was a great fight. And this
What
is
I
where
like about these women, they don't protect their record. They don't. They choose the best opponents, and they go. They don't fear.
it's all about
The war.
opportunity.
Yeah,
They
and
choose.
you did the same. You never protected your record. You have losses, but it doesn't matter because it was fights. Real wars all the time. This is a mindset that men they don't have that much. They
There's
feel
always something that comes with a loss, and it is challenging, because it takes you. At the end of the day, I know we have a team. It takes a village to get us to the fight, but when the fight's over, you have to carry that shield not just for yourself. That
yeah,
loss, you carry it for your team too,
the
and
team. It's
and it
teamwork.
is challenging. And so the team does what they can do to try and keep you undefeated, but at the end of the day, it's not helping the sport to try and protect all these guys, because at one point or another these guys are going to get exposed, right?
True.
And that's why, and let's be honest, that's why people love women's boxing, is because we put it all on the line, and every time we go out, we're going to go to war, and we're going to have a great fight, and then we're on to the next,
Yeah.
and I think that this loss that Katie Taylor just had will only make her stronger, as she will come back resilient, she'll come back stronger, and she will put on a show. And Chantel will carry this win, and it will make her a better fighter than when she was before. So I think all of this experience is incredible. I think everything, listen, at the end of the day, we're just here to do what we love.
Would you like to have this third minute per round, or you don't mind? You don't care?
What is it? What do we do? I'm in.
Because many women they tell me, "Oh, I want the 3 minute rounds," and others they tell me, "I like the 2 minute rounds because it's entertaining."
Listen. We all train 3 minutes, or most of us train 3 minutes. We change when we get closer to a fight. Like for me, I change my rounds to 2 minutes so I can get a sense of the timing, right? If we had 3 minute rounds, I would probably knock out most of my opponents. I need a minute more.
I was about to say, because this right end you have would damage.
I
so
need more
many
time.
places.
Give me more time. Listen,
Yes.
the problem I've had this is an age-old discussion for me. So I've had this conversation many times, and I've been to these conventions, and the WBC says that they have some kind of medical research saying that there's something in that last minute, in from the 2 to the 3 minute, that females brain structure, whatever it is.
They say that we have less fat in the skull around the brain.
Somebody told me the actual proper medical version of this, but what I heard was, no, we're not doing 3 minutes. So I just let it go. But, I hope one day, because, we're doing this battle to get us on pay-per-view, check. Get us on these big shows, main events, check. Well, now if we want people to take us seriously, we have to take it to the 3 minutes. And unfortunately, until the WBC gets on board with this, this isn't going to happen. I think the other organizations have sanctioned some 3-minute rounds, but now
Yes.
you're dealing with sanctioning bodies, and then you're going to deal with commissions. Everybody just wants to keep the sport as safe as possible. And so until that moment where we do get that check mark, like, hey, like, we all train it, we've all been there. You know who this is people are gonna hate are the people who kind of take it as like a they aren't as serious about the training as like the people like myself and the Clarissas and most of the women now. But some of these girls enjoy the 2 minutes because they don't feel as though they can
It
make
would expose them with 3
it would
minutes.
expose them. So I think as a fighter standpoint, absolutely 100% I want the 3-minute rounds. From a person who wants to evolve the sport more, I'm 50-50 on this, because I think we're not at the point where we have the depth enough to just right away change it 3 minutes.
I agree.
I think that we've had exciting fights. I would hate to see women get boring like the men's. Like, there's a lot of fights that are boring that I don't want to watch. And that's because they have 3 minutes. You have 3 times 12. You have 3 times 8, whatever it is that you're fighting. You have
Some are exhausted mid-fight. They cannot anymore. They are exhausted.
Listen, man, woman, whatever it is, if you're not ready, you're not ready.
You're not ready.
And everybody gets exposed. The difference is there's still relatively significantly less women to build that up, right?
True.
Whereas, man, if you're not in shape and you get exposed, see you later. There's 1,000 more in line.
And that's probably why this culture of the zero on the record is less important as well. Because even if you lose, you have a chance to go back, to come back, to have a rematch, to have a fight within 2 years as a new championship fight, things like that. Opportunities are complicated, but it comes more often when you have talent. So the best fight the best. For male boxers, there are so many. There are hundreds and hundreds waiting for an opportunity. So when you have a loss, sometimes you lose time.
Yeah.
Hey, thank you. That was nice. A nice chat. I'm very happy you accepted my invite.
Oh, thank you. So I'm glad we could work it out. So
yes.
I follow you. I appreciate everything you do
thank
for
you.
women's boxing. So thank you for always. I actually get a lot of the results from your page. So
thank you. I will continue to post. I think it's important to give exposure to women. They deserve a place. So I like when people they start talking about women's boxing, sharing stuff. What I would like is male boxers. I would like male boxers to share more of women's boxing stories. Help a little bit their sisters when they have a lot of exposure. Once a while, if they could share a story about women's boxing, they don't do it.
All the guys I can listen. All of the guys in my gym have shared that I'm fighting. All the guys that Sugar trains, they've all shared all of my stuff. So
this is a culture. This is a culture that needs to,
Yeah, and I think it's like team, right? Like we have we have a team that supports each other, and I think it's all about who you surround yourself with, and that's anything.
Exactly. So. Thank you so much. I wish you the best. We will follow this next fight on June 8th on the Gold. It will be on the Zone, I guess.
It'll be on the Zone, yeah. So co-main event, or feature fight or whatever, whatever they want to call it. I'm fighting second last.
Amazing. Enjoy England in the meanwhile.
I can't wait to get back to North America and then eventually home. So back to Canada.
But hockey is done. We're done almost. At least in Edmonton and Montreal, it's done.
Oh, listen, I was in Florida's still in it. We're going back to Florida. It's probably gonna be crazy. So
have a good night.
Thank you. See you.